Hey everyone, welcome to the Pawareness Podcast, and thanks for joining me. This podcast is specifically for about educating and raising awareness for animals and rescues and organizations across the United States and world. It really goes a long way towards this mission when our listeners rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and all of our other podcast platforms. Also, be sure to check us out on our official website at pawareness.org and on social media at TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Pawareness_podcast. You can check us out for all of our latest bits and clips of our podcast, as well as Pet of the Week and Pet of the Month. If you're listening and involved with an animal rescue organization or have a story of your own that you want to share, reach out to us at info@pawareness.org and we can get you on the podcast. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Pawareness Podcast. Today I am lucky to be speaking to Gerard Elliot, founder and operations manager of Pet Rescue Radio, the Pet Cafe. I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away. Really excited with just what you're doing over there, and go ahead and introduce yourself and more about what you do.
Yeah. First off, I want to thank you, Chris, for having me over. I've seen some of your podcasts. I think you do great work of getting the awareness out there. That's so necessary. So I appreciate you having us, Pet Rescue Radio, on your podcast today. I started this radio station because of my combination of love for pets and companion pets, and my experience in broadcasting. I've been in broadcasting since about 1987. So when my late dog, Border Terrier Trixie, got ill back in 2018, we were actually very close. As many owners and pets are. I had her for 15 years, 4 months, and 3 days, and we were both diagnosed with cancer 48 hours apart. I was diagnosed with cancer on a Monday of the kidney, and she was diagnosed with cancer of the bladder on a Wednesday. So we went through a lot of rough times together. And I had to put her down on Christmas Eve day of 2018. And, I thought long and hard. She gave me such amazing 15 years, and we put down about 1.5 million pets per year in this country. And a lot of folks, have the wrong ideas. Oh, you put them down because they're old or they're ill, but that's not true. We actually put down a lot of kittens, a lot of puppies, because as you know, through all of the interviews you've conducted, the shelters are full, and they're understaffed, they're undermanned, they're underfunded, and there's a lot of issues there. So I got to thinking, what if Trixie would have been one of those that was put down? I would have never had those 15 years plus with her. And that's what prompted me to start Pet Rescue Radio. I wanted to get shelters around the country to participate as part of our radio station, and basically send me their rescues. And in turn, the radio station itself is a 24-hour station. So, you can tune in anytime and you'll hear great variety of music, whether it's Sinatra or Adele or the Beatles or Motown or Jason Derulo. It doesn't matter. It's a wide variety. What makes us different is that every 30 minutes we have something called a pet welfare capsule. In that pet welfare capsule, it's about a 3 or 4 minute little snippet of all things that a lot of pet owners are not aware of. So for instance, the top 13 fruits you should be feeding your pet, signs of hyperthyroidism in your cats. How do you prevent your dogs from digging in the backyard? It's a plethora of information. So every 30 minutes we have that. Then at 2 o'clock on the East Coast, I host something called the Pet Cafe. And that's where the shelters that we partner with around the country, from California to Florida and so on, they send me their rescues, and in between breaks, I promote their rescues. And that's what Pet Rescue Radio is all about.
That's such an amazing story. That's so cool. And where are you guys located? And can everyone listen? Can everyone listen to this?
Yes, we broadcast coast to coast and in Canada, even in Europe. But at this point, it doesn't really make a difference on the European side. But we operate out of Port St. Lucie, Sunshine State of Florida. And, the nice thing of operating on the local shelters, I physically get a chance to go there. So if you go to petrescueradio.com and you click on Pets of the Day, you will see all of the pets that are being featured on our website and on our broadcast day to day. The nice advantage that the shelters close to me have is I physically go there. So when you go to petrescueradio.com and you click on the Pets of the Day, instead of seeing stills, you'll see full-fledged videos, which is, we live in a TikTok, world. So people want their videos. So that's the advantage I have from the local shelters. But, shelters in California, Arizona, Georgia, Louisiana, I don't physically have a chance to go there. So they send me their stills. And then that's what I insert on the website.
That's amazing. And I think that's really cool that you kind of incorporate people that are close to you as well as nationwide. I'm curious too, and I was telling you this before the call, I don't know of any other operation doing what you do. Like you said, you're the only one. What are some challenges that you face, not only with the Pet Rescue Radio, but just running a 24/7 radio station with that component?
Well, Chris, the number one challenge, of course, we're a 501 registered 501c3 nonprofit. And it takes money to run a 24-hour radio station because this is not a podcast. This is a full-blown 24-hour. You can listen to it anytime, anywhere, in your car, in your home, in the office. So the donation is the number one challenge that we've come across. Getting the word out. Of course, we're all over social media. We're on, the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. We've got our YouTube channel. We produce TikTok videos. We're all over the place. But again, word of mouth is key. And being able to get some donations to get this radio station and being able to remain a 24-hour entity is so important for us. So that's the number one challenge. The second challenge I find is sometimes these shelters, like I told you, they're so understaffed that, typically they'll send me the rescues that they want promoted. So when I do the Pet Cafe, I promote those rescues. And oftentimes they're so busy that I'm still promoting maybe some rescues that have been rescued. They've been adopted. So that's one of the challenges. They're so busy and I'm so busy. So we do the best we can to meet in the middle and be as current as we can with these rescues.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that makes sense too, to be one of the challenges. And I forget the exact stat on this, but it's something like a certain amount of podcasts don't survive past a certain episode. Like it's not a very good amount.
You're right.
And to take that even further, I can't even imagine. I would imagine for a radio station, it would be even smaller. But however, there's probably been things along the way that have kept you going, like very amazing things that it's like why you do it. Can you share maybe one or two of those stories, like just something that since 2018, that's just been really like the reason that just keeps you going?
I think, when you have such a good relationship with the shelters and they send you their rescues, hoping that they'll get that extra layer of exposure. Because of course, these rescues, like you're broadcasting from California, and we have many shelters out there. They're going to continue to do what they do. We're just like an extra layer for them. So it doesn't mean that just because their rescues are going to be on our radio program that they're going to be adopted out tomorrow. No, but what this will do is bring awareness to their shelter and their rescues. And I think like anything else, like you said, yeah, it's hard to get off the ground. It's especially like a full-blown radio station. You've got Pandora, you've got Spotify, you've got, Apple. There's so much to compete with, especially on the internet side. So it's been challenging, but my hope was, and we rebranded in 2020. My hope was that, what, an average pet owner, they would tune in, they would enjoy the music, and they would enjoy the information that is provided every day. Because our mission statement is very clear. We want to educate the public and we want to eradicate pet euthanasia in this country by the end of this decade. That's hefty, isn't it? Eradicate pet euthanasia. 1.5 million pets are being put down every year. And, when people look at me like, oh, okay, right, sure. I tell them, when President Kennedy in 1961 said, we're going to put men on the moon by the end of the decade, they looked at him like he had three eyes. But we did it. As Americans, collectively, we came together. And what do you know? In July, I think, of 69, we put men on the moon. This is 2022. We're the most modernized country on this planet. We have to figure out a way. How do you do it? You do it through education. You do it by getting rid of breeders. California, New York, they're making waves. Hopefully that will catch on the rest of the country. I think New York currently has a bill, the state of New York, to get rid of all pet stores, because as long as they're around, pet euthanasia is going to become that much more difficult. Why do you want to go to a pet store when there's a shelter right up the street? And 25% of all sheltered pets are purebred. So that's not an excuse, because a lot of people say, oh, no, I want a purebred. I'm not going to a shelter. I don't want a mutt. Well, go to the shelter. You might be surprised what you find. So this is the whole point of this whole mission, and hopefully it will catch on, and hopefully we can make a difference.
That's amazing. And I don't know, I feel like in my past, I'm a big goal setter. Like I set goals so big that they seem kind of crazy. And I think from like the mentors I've had and stuff and people I've talked to, it's not that people, they set too big of goals. It's that their goals aren't big enough. So I think that's awesome that that's the goal. And like you said, this is a worldwide problem. So if we can figure this out here, then we can start focusing to other countries and whatnot. And I just interviewed the senator of California yesterday, and you're right. And he was an area of San Francisco, and they're doing a great job there. And hopefully we can take from some of these states that are doing a good job and just keep spreading it outward with people like you. And I think that's amazing. That's absolutely awesome.
And, Chris, there are no federal laws. So, these are state by state. Every state's going to make a decision, to make a call, bring up bills, to the Congress and so on and so forth. But listen, even if we're having this conversation in 2030 and we have not eradicated pet euthanasia, but guess what? Instead of 1.5 million, it's down to 250,000. We've still done a good job, haven't we? Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. And the question is would it have gotten down that low had the goal not been so big?
Correct.
And that's really cool. And I think that's an interesting stat too, that I hadn't heard that before, that 25% of
sheltered pets
are purebred. So that's amazing for those people who are adamant about that, right? It's
right,
like, okay, right. Go check them out. Like, it's fine. You can go get these dogs and cats that are over here. So,
and that's one of my pet peeves. When I hear people say, oh, we're going through a groomer, that doesn't sit well with me. It just doesn't sit well with me.
What do you mean by a groomer? Like they're like
not a groomer. I'm sorry.
I know what you mean, like a breeder.
A breeder. I mean, a breeder. Yeah. When they're going through when people say they're going through a breeder, that doesn't sit well with me.
It doesn't me either. And I'm really, and the thing is like, I'm not trying to tell people what to do or like just throw a thing on them, but it's at the end of the day, there is an opportunity cost. There is an opportunity cost by buying a dog. And yes, the dogs from these breeders need to get adopted too, but you're supporting this. You're supporting it. You're supporting this. And it's a pet peeve of mine too, as right there with you. Right.
Not to mention that a lot of these dogs are used and abused. And once they stop producing and the litters, they're tossed out. So, I mean, there's a lot wrong with this. But, I mean, we're doing the best we can to make people aware. And that's the whole concept of Pet Rescue Radio. So hopefully folks can tune in, maybe through their workday. And, here's the interesting thing. You go to a shelter, you pick up a cat, you pick up a dog, you take it home. It doesn't come with a manual. There's so much to learn, right? I mean, even when I got my Trixie over 15, 16 years ago, there was a lot to learn, and it through trial and error. What Pet Rescue Radio does with these pet welfare capsules every 30 minutes, we really, really are educating the people. Like I remember back in the days, the mistake I made, I think I gave my dog 3 grapes. And the next thing, my dog was like, almost like I'm like having a convulsion. I'm thinking, what the hell did I do wrong? What happened? What happened? Well, I came to find out grapes are a no-no. Raisins are a no-no for dogs, just like chocolate. I didn't know that back in the days. I was young. I was stupid. Okay, so that's what we do.
That's amazing, and that you can provide that type of education, because you're right. I mean, there are a lot of different things there that we may not know, especially being a first time pet owner.
Oh,
And I do think it is interesting too that you're like that, that you speak across to all these different rescues across the nation. What kind of issues are you seeing that are really sticking out to you with rescue? Are there any that come to mind just from the organizations that you talk to?
yeah. It's interesting. You asked that question, Chris. A lot of times, because I get bios from the sheltered pets that are sent over to me, and a lot of these dogs, the dogs, from my understanding, are the most abused animals on this planet. The most abused animals.
Wow.
And a lot of these dogs that come into the shelters have been abused, and they're very they're squirmish when it comes to men. It's like, they're okay with women, but men, and that's what I get from their bios. They won't do well with men, and that probably indicates to me that they've been abused by men for one reason or another. So I think the sheltered life is a very difficult life, and I think a lot of people who are tuning in, who are watching the show, do yourself a favor, go to a shelter, spend an hour in a shelter. It's not fun. And the volunteers do a phenomenal job. And I've always said, to me, they're the most, um, I mean, the most unsung heroes in this country to me are volunteers at shelters, because without these volunteers, most of these rescues would have zero human interaction. They'd be stuck in a cage. Some of them are stuck in a cage for 6 months. Some of them are stuck, for 3 years. So I think if you want to go to a shelter, I heavily advise you and see what life is like in a shelter. It's not a lot of fun, and especially the ones who maybe lost an owner, or maybe the owners lost their home, and all of a sudden here's a very domesticated animal, and they're back in a shelter, and it's horrible. They've got barking dogs everywhere. They're not used to this. They're used to the nice home life. So those are the big issues. Those are real huge issues.
And you bring up a great point too. And the thing is like you said, it's nothing's wrong with the volunteers. And some of these rescues are even phenomenal. But the thing is that the pet, the dog or the cat, they don't know that. Like, a rescue is a rescue. It's not a home. It's not a home.
It's
And
not.
so
It's cage.
it's a cage, and it's hard on them. And they could even be in a room that has a home-like feature. I've even seen rescues that do that, but it's not the same. And they can even start developing like bad social behaviors that kind of snowball, and it just gets even worse there. And I'm curious your take on this, and maybe you don't have an idea, but there's two sides of the spectrum. There's like people who volunteer that are willing to like give up time and energy for these animals. And then on the other end, there's abuse. What do you think causes that? Like, I'm really curious, like, why would someone abuse an animal? Like, do you have any, like, can you like try and do you have any idea?
I mean, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist, but I think psychopaths do funky things. And, they might take their anger out on a dog because it's convenient. And, the poor dog, maybe they made a mistake and they had an accident in the home. And the next thing you know, this individual who needs anger management goes off on the dog. There's so many reasons why that's the case. But the important thing is, it's sad because they're so unconditional. And, you could abuse a dog all day long and leave the house. And when you come home later on, they're at the door waiting for you. It's upsetting. It's disturbing. That's why I think these shelters do a great job of being able to place these dogs and cats in good homes. They do home checks. They ask the right questions. They want to make sure that they're going into a forever home.
And even sometimes these rescues can take these animals
that have troubled past and kind of at least reform them to some degree. I mean, I think time's the overall winner there, but like just constantly just showing that, hey, this isn't, like we're not going to hurt you. But I have a
Right.
dog that's a part of my life, and
Yeah, I
he
saw
is,
that on the internet.
yeah. And I mean, I don't know what happened in his past, but he still will like jump if I pet him a certain way. He's like 13, and I've just like, we've been together for a couple of years, and he still will like snap at me. He never bites, but like, it's just, I realize it's this fear-based aggression, and it's from his past. And like, he loves me, I love him, but it's just how it is. And so
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah,
But
because there's certain things that they just get spooked. Whatever happened in the past, they get a little spooked, and that's why it is sometimes difficult to rehabilitate certain animals. Certain animals, they don't lose that aggression, unfortunately. But I think again, the shelters, they do a really good job.
they really do. And I wanted to ask you too. I know that you spoke on the goals of the station, and then before the call, you kind of touched on some stuff. But what are some future plans of your station? This is the 4th year, right? This is the 4th year that you've been open. What are what's that like?
Yeah, it's challenging. There's so many different things. But I think one of the things, the Pet Cafe is a show that's on every day from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with encore presentations at 6 p.m. and again at 10 p.m. And I think at some point I would like to incorporate maybe some interviews during the Pet Cafe and, in the pet world, in the pet community, and maybe some authors and so on and so forth. I think that would be a nice addition for the Pet Cafe as we expand the radio station. Now, that said, Chris, currently we are in 7 states, meaning that we promote shelters in 7 states. We're trying to open up a state every month or so. We're going to be opening up New Jersey any day now. So New Jersey will officially be a state where we're going to feature shelters. We can only feature somewhere around 5 to 6 shelters per state. So we can't go every shelter because then, it's impossible to keep up with. Already, we have over 100 rescues on the pets of the day page on our website. So, but we are trying to open up state little by little.
And how big is your team and your operation? What's that like?
Not very big.
Not very big.
No, not very, no, not very big at all. No, it's
Hey, it
very
doesn't
small.
have to be to like small, like amounts of people can do some amazing things.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, it's mostly volunteers and just very few volunteers at that. So it's a lot of work because again, it's as you do a podcast and you know what you're doing and you produce it and so on, you edit it and then it goes on the airwaves. But what we do is 24/7. We have to program a full blown radio station with the music, with the format, and then of course we switch out every couple of days and we switch out the rescues that we're promoting in between our breaks at the Pet Cafe. So there's so much involved, and of course, don't forget the pet welfare capsules. So there's so many topics, so it's very challenging. I probably put in a good 14-hour days.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell people too. This is not only about the animals, but it's about these amazing people like yourself that are out here it's just out here making it happen. That's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I just wanted to thank you for coming on. And I know that you mentioned, yeah, we know where we can listen to you at, but where can we follow you? I mean, if there's any social media, can you plug that? Where can we kind of
Yes.
follow along?
Okay, so basically, if the folks go to petrescueradio.com, just petrescueradio.com, on the main page on the bottom, there's listen live. You can click listen live and then listen anywhere you want. A lot of times when I'm driving around town, it's on my phone. I just listen. There's no app, but if you just go to the website, petrescueradio.com, you can listen live. Social media, we are under all the same umbrella. The umbrella is Pet Rescue Radio, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it's all Pet Rescue Radio. And other than that, like I said, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. On our homepage, there's a they can click on donate. They can donate to give to the cause, and that's really we're easily found.
Amazing. And I'll leave that in the description below. Wherever you're listening, check these guys out. I know I'm going to definitely have you guys on in the background while I work and stuff. I'm
great.
excited.
Thanks so much.
I'm excited, but I want to thank you again so much for coming on. Seriously, thank you for your time, and definitely keep in touch. I look forward to talking with you again.
Yeah, thanks, Chris, and thanks for everything you do. Fantastic. Thank you for having us today.